Having patched up many a wonky fringe and butchered layers, most hairdressers regard cutting your own hair as a complete no-no. But with coronavirus fears at the forefront of everyone's mind, booking in for a regular trim, let alone a completely new hairstyle, is not an option at the moment. Salons may be closed following expert advice, but hair has a mind of its own. A full fringe waits for no one, and split ends will only travel upwards if ignored. So what are we to do? Dust off the scissors ourselves, of course. Ahead, we asked 7 experienced DIY haircutters for their fail-safe tips and tricks when it comes to trimming your hair at home. How to cut curly hair at home. My hair is naturally curly and is a blend of 3A and 3B curls. It's very fine, but I have a lot of it, which gives it volume. I've been cutting my own hair for 10 years bar one cut last year. I trim it maximum twice a year, but I more regularly do it curl by curl, which is a technique called dusting, essentially snipping micro lengths of hair, anything that looks dead, dry or damaged. When I used to wear my hair straight, I unfortunately cut my own blunt fringe more times than I should admit. It looked fab in my wind and moisture-free bathroom, but was ruined as soon as I stepped outside. Professional hairdressers look away now, because I use nail or kitchen scissors, whichever I can find first. A poorly lit bathroom is my ideal location so my expert cuttings can fall into the sink. I always cut it dry, half up, half down, so I can easily locate curls that need to go. What I would say is proceed with caution and always cut less than you think, as you can't replace what you've lopped off. If your hair is naturally curly, be mindful if you wear it straight, as any mistakes will be far less forgiving. Rhea 2. How to cut a side fringe at home. I cut both my fringe and ends using big paper scissors, lol. I also use nail scissors to cut my fringe upwards to soften it once I've done the trim. I would advise never cutting a fringe straight across. I pull my hair backwards, brush the fringe forward, section it at the front, then hold it between 2 fingers, the ones you use to flip the V. Then, I flip the section of hair, still between my fingers, upside down, so it's standing upwards in front of my forehead. I twist it in the middle, then cut across the ends, maybe 1 millimeter at first. Then I drop the fringe and style and see how much I've taken off. I don't know how this science works, but it does. Keep trimming until you're happy, then use the nail scissors to soften any hard edges. One thing I would say is remember to never cut too short near your temples. With the ends, I divide my hair into 2 sections and cut across. It's quite a butchered method, but once it's all styled normally, I can see where I've missed any sections. That said, I would only recommend this technique if you wear your hair one length. I wouldn't tackle layers alone. Georgia 3. How to cut natural hair at home. I have coarse, curly type 4 hair. It's a little difficult to really categorize since I have about 3 different hair textures on my head, 3C in the very back, 4B, 4C in the middle and 4B in the front. My hair's also really dense. I've cut my hair a lot of different ways over the last couple of years. My hair had been perm straight for most of my life, and when I was 17, I made the decision to transition to being natural. Once I had more than a couple of inches of natural hair, I took all the straight bits off. Since then, I've trimmed it every 3 months. This is going to sound really bad, but up until about a month and a half ago, I would use normal household scissors. It wasn't exactly healthy for my hair, but it was convenient. I've now got a pair of hair shears and they work a charm. They're small and sharp enough to make sure I don't accidentally take a huge chunk off in one spot. I've tried a number of different ways and it really just depends on how lazy I feel. If I'm really short on time, I style my hair into little twists and then trim the end of each twist. This method gets the job done, but if I'm really serious about taking some ends off, I'll blow dry my hair until it's pretty straight and then separate my hair into about 10 sections, eyeball it, and snip off the damaged bits. There's probably a more precise way of doing it, but I've never really cared much for whether it's symmetrical. I'd say don't be nervous, it's just hair. Make sure you invest in a good pair of shears, as it really does make a difference and is healthier for your hair in the long term. Finally, if you have curly hair, unless you can really guesstimate how much shrinkage you'll have and how your hair will behave when it's dry, don't cut it wet. Just save yourself the heartbreak. Ollie 4. How to cut long hair at home. My hair type is naturally very frizzy and curly, but I do have a keratin blow dry every 4 months, so day to day it's straight, or when I play it, wavy. I cut the ends using a pair of scissors. I have proper hair scissors as I used to trim my friend's hair from time to time. I used to straighten it pre-keratin treatment, then just trim the ends section by section, as my hair was all different lengths. Now I do normally get my hair cut to give it better shape, but I must confess that sometimes when my hair is in plaits I just trim the ends of the braid to get rid of split ends. I also sometimes trim the front sections of my hair as I feel they get the most heat damaged. The best tip is cutting your hair dry if it isn't naturally straight and you like to wear it straight. I also use the technique of cutting across, then blending by angling the scissors and cutting upwards like they do in salon. Mona 5. How to cut a full fringe at home. I don't use scissors. Instead, I cut my fringe with a shaver, namely the Remington HC5200, to get it really blunt and, fingers crossed, as straight as possible. I use 223 mirrors, a travel mirror which stands up, a small swivel bathroom mirror and a large bathroom mirror. This was especially useful for trimming my shaved hair as it grew out. I spray my fringe with water, enlist a fine comb and trim that way. I get all of my tips and tricks from YouTube tutorials, because there are lots of people who are experienced with the method I try. I've been growing my hair out for about a year because I shaved it off due to damage, and I've made quite a few mistakes, like taking the back way too short or cutting it in unevenly. But I always tell myself it'll grow out. Jenna 6. How to cut short hair at home. I cut all of my hair and I use any scissors at hand, plus my hair clipper and 2 mirrors, a big full-length mirror and a regular makeup mirror. I normally do this in the bathroom because it's actually quite a messy process. I buzz the back and sides to around 3 mm, and I also use the hair clipper for thinning out the back section of my hair, so it doesn't get too puffy. I use my regular scissors for the rest of my hair, which normally means trimming here and there wherever I see fit. My hair never looks the same because even though I start cutting with my normal plan in mind, it always ends up looking a little different each time. I cut my hair when dry and style it how I would normally, then cut the different lengths until it looks how I want it. I have no solid routine whatsoever, and if I ever went to the hairdressers I'd expect them to laugh at all the random lengths. I have definitely cut my hair shorter than I would have liked many times, but I usually wear a hat until it settles. My top tip is that the second mirror is so handy for the back of the head, obviously. Always cut your hair in the bathroom because it's messy, especially if you cut your hair dry like mine. Also, don't be afraid to just go ahead and cut it however you see fit. Think of all the money you're about to save. Ida 7. How to cut wavy hair at home. I have somewhere between 2A and 2B hair. It's wavy, prone to frizz and tends to feel dry. For this reason, I always cut the ends using regular hairdressing scissors. They're sharp and easy to handle. Layers never look right in my hair, so it's all one length. The strands around my face seem to grow the quickest and the curl is more relaxed here, so I trim them a little shorter to make everything more even. I'd suggest starting out with small snips, so you can easily assess your hair before you realize you've cut off too much. I also cut my hair when it's dry, as I can see how it sits naturally. That's my top tip if you have texture or waves in your hair. And use a mirror that's far enough away so you can easily see how the entire cut looks.